Hello, welcome to another show of the Midnight Skeptic. This is actually show number 109, but it's number 3 of the Midnight Skeptic 2020.
You are listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM, streaming live on kpca.fm, and on Petaluma Community Access Channel 26 or 99 on ATT-Uverse. You can find us on YouTube by searching The Midnight Skeptic, and you can contact us at themidnightskeptic@gmail.com. Remember, think logically, think critically, and live joyously.
Okay, tonight's show will feature a kind of a biography and what's going on with Britt Marie Hermes, a naturopathic doctor. I mean, she went through the whole thing. Regular college and then medical school up at Bastyr University, Bastyr, up in the Seattle area. I don't know exactly where it is. A bit of a coronavirus update. The myth of the sugar high. We're going to deal with that. Anti-plastic lawsuit. The vision of the circular economy as a way to reduce, if not do away completely, with trash. Now, I don't want to forget this. The views of the Midnight Skeptic do not, I repeat, do not reflect the views of KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM, nor does it reflect the views of its parent company, Petaluma Community Access. A quick shout out, very quick shout outs. I've been trying to cut down this portion of the show, but Stan and Kathy Gustafson down in Pacifica, Geraldine Goldfinger out on Long Island, Herr Doctor in the Raleigh-Durham area, my ex-roommate from way back, Nelson and Alice Lydell down in Sarasota, Bob, Sandy, Brad, and Martha Fisher up in Sonora, California, Darrell Larson and Judy May up in Sonora, California as well, my brother Brandon Murphy down in Santan Valley, Arizona, and although he's not listening, I don't think he's ever heard one of my shows. My nephew-in-law, Tim, who just yesterday retired after 20 years in the United States Marine Corps. He and his wife, Andrea, my niece, just bought a house near my brother in Santan Valley, and they're in the process of moving into it and fixing it up and blah, 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 and all of that. And then locally, Mickey Huff, and then Tom and Nancy Throw and Tim Conrad, originally from Sonora, Tim Conrad is. Mickey Huff is going to be showing a documentary about Project Censored at Sonoma State this Friday in the Student Union. The showing starts at 7 o'clock. The producer of this show, Dennis Murphy, did the editing of that documentary, and he will be there along with me. So, another very important announcement. The Center for Inquiry, CFI, I keep mentioning this organization, and by the way, it's an organization that I would encourage all of my listeners out there to subscribe to get their newsletters. And they're a parent organization. They're back in Amherst, New York, just outside the campus of uh, State University of New York at Buffalo. And the CFI organization is growing. They have an outlet down in LA that just opened about a month ago, and they have minor organizational headquarters at various cities around the country. But they are the parent company of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, CSI, which, by the way, publishes this magazine that I use a lot. Okay, I'm holding this up so that you can all see what this magazine is all about. This particular issue, they had a major article about Britt Marie Hermes. That's where I get what I'm going to be talking to you about. Okay, they are also the parent company now for the James Randi Educational Foundation. Now, James Randi was he is a magician and psychic buster extraordinaire. I think he's in his early 90s now. But he shows up at all the PsyCon conventions in Las Vegas. Incidentally, I didn't go to this last one down in Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel, but he's always there and provides an eminence to the proceedings down there. And then also the Richard Dawkins Foundation for reason and, I forget what he calls it, for reason, and he doesn't use the word atheism, but essentially that's what they are. Okay, they got a new one that has joined their family of organizations, Quackwatch. Okay, now, Quackwatch is a website, and I would encourage all my listeners out there to go on to that, quackwatch.org, O-R-G, Q-U-A-C-K, quack, quack, like the duck, watch. This is the site that's operated by Dr. Stephen Barrett, and they keep track of all these ridiculous alternative and complementary medical claims, and one of which I'll be going into more in depth when I talk about Britt Marie Hermes. With that said, let's get to this. Okay, Britt Marie Hermes. I saw her 2 times give a talk at the PsyCon conference that I went to, not this last year, but the 2 occasions before this. She, like I said in the introduction, she went to Bastyr University, B-A-S-T-Y-R. They're up in the Seattle area, and I'm not sure whether they call themselves Bastyr University or Bastyr College of Neuropathic Sciences or Medicine, or anyway, BASTYR is the name of it. She went there from 2011 to 2014, and she is now a licensed naturopathic doctor here in the U.S. And real quick sidebar here. What is naturopathy? I was downtown on Kentucky Street in Petaluma, and I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I was just seeing what stores are open and who's selling what, and what sort of offices are in the second floor of these stores that sell high-end clothes and antiques and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I ran across upstairs a naturopathic doctor. And in the same building, there was an Ayurvedic person. They don't call themselves a doctor, or at least this one did not. But Ayurvedic medicine is the ancient Indian practice of healing. And it's similar, I guess, to traditional Chinese medicine. They rely heavily on herbs and traditional healing practices. Anyway, what is naturopathy? The term was coined relatively recently, 1895, by John Scheel, Scheel. And then a couple of years later, that term, naturopathy, was bought. The rights to use that term was purchased by Benedict Lust, L-U-S-T. He's German, but he promoted his naturopathy here in the United States and opened a American Naturopathic Association in 1916 and started the American School of Naturopathy in 1901. And Benedict Lust is considered the father of naturopathy by American practitioners. Toward the end of the 1800s, which would be the end of the 19th century, the healing fad in Europe was hydrotherapy, natural healing processes. The thinking is that given a healthy lifestyle and giving hydrotherapy treatments and teas and no smoking and no alcohol and eating well, the body will heal itself of most conditions. Now, I don't disagree with this. The human body has a great propensity for healing itself. I myself don't go running off to a doctor every time I have a cough or a sneeze or something. And I can't remember the last time that I ever got a cold or flu. I don't think I've ever had the flu. I must have had it at some point as a young kid, but I just don't run off to doctors. Now, another sidebar. These glasses, I ran across these because I have a lot of readers in my room, and they're just not working that well anymore. And I am going to have cataract surgery. I've just found out. I went to see an ophthalmologist. I'm a member of Kaiser Permanente health plan. I've been my entire working life. I've been a member of Kaiser. So anyway, I went to see an ophthalmologist, and she looked in there and signed me up for an introductory class about operations on the eye and removal of cataracts. And that's just a precursor to actually making the appointment to go in for surgery. So this show will be put on hiatus for a while until my eyes get taken care of. It's very hard for me to read my notes without my glasses. I use a Sharpie now to write them larger and larger, and these glasses don't help all that much. They're supposed to be readers. But on the last show, I watched it myself, and I apologize to my viewers out there because for certain stretches of the show, I was holding the notes like right in front of my face. Not that that's a bad deal. I mean, I'm not denying my viewers the thrill of watching me babble on about all this stuff. Excuse me, more coffee. But anyhow, the body does in fact heal itself. I would say in 90% of the time. And now I'm just pulling a number out of my bunghole. I don't know whether it's really 90% or it could be 80%, but most of the time the body will heal itself. Okay, now let's get specifically onto Britt Marie Hermes. Now I'm going to hold this picture up. I tried to get a picture of her off the internet, and they are there, except that my my technical expertise is not such that I can get a big printed out picture. But I'm going to hold this up, and that's her. I think she's 35 or 36, somewhere around in there. So from 2011, from 2014, I was a licensed naturopathic doctor in the United States. Thanks to poor legislation in many states, again, I have to apologize. I could advertise as a primary care physician, just like the one that I see at Kaiser, my primary care physician. He's a MD. That's who I would recommend everybody go to. Stay away from complementary and alternative medical practices. Don't see a chiropractor. Don't see a homeopath. Don't see an osteopathic doctor. Don't see a sacrocranial health practitioner, Chinese herbalists, Ayurvedic medical people. Don't waste your money with those quacks. I will say it. If any of them are out there listening and they want to sue me for calling them quacks, bring it on. She calls herself, when she was in practice, Dr. Britt in Arizona. And what really, really turned her off to the practice of naturopathy was the doctor that she was working under at this naturopathic clinic was using imported drugs from Mexico. Not that all drugs from Mexico are bad, but these were not approved by the FDA, and this is pre-Donald Trump. Now, his appointed head of the FDA would probably approve anything. They are just the FDA has become worthless under the Trump administration, or the Orange Menace, as I call him. And the drug is Ukraine, capital U, Krain. And he was administering it to his patients intravenously as a cure for cancer. It was at that point that she began to think about her profession, naturopathic medicine. His patients would get regular intravenous injections of Ukraine, despite in some cases being discharged by their medical oncologists due to the severity of their disease. Others had chosen him for first-line treatment. They flocked to him because his credentials included FABNO. That's a acronym for Fellow of the American Board of Naturopathic Oncology, which is a designation given by this self-regulating outfit that deals with naturopathic issues. Ukraine, its manufacturer had been arrested in Austria for charges of fraud. Now who is the he? He had been relabeling and continuing to sell expired product. Excuse me. Okay. In Vienna, there was a lawsuit against this drug provider, and court proceedings are still going on because of appeals and appeals and appeals. They do this over in Europe as well as here. Let's see. She, meaning Britt Marie Hermes, went after a naturopathic doctor who was advertising here in the United States. I apologize for not having my notes more well organized. And anyway, Britt Marie Hermes has been sued, and here's the lady that brought the suit against her. Dr. Colleen Huber. Cancer Crusader sued the author in Germany for defamation. Okay, because Britt Marie Hermes called her out for her claims to be able to cure cancer with naturopathic remedies. Okay, here's a paragraph about naturopathy. Naturopathy is based on magic. Its origins trace back to the late 19th century belief in vitalism. Google that. In this worldview, all living beings embody a sort of supernatural energy force that is responsible for making you healthy or sick. Naturopaths refer to this power as the VIS, V-I-S. It corresponds to ancient Chinese beliefs in qi, or ancient Ayurvedic Indian practices that believe in prana, which is a bodily energy that you can see through your chakras, chakras, various colors. Today, naturopathy has been rebranded as naturopathic medicine. Naturopaths call themselves naturopathic doctors, ND, capital N, capital D for short. The profession has been somewhat successful in passing itself off as a credible medical specialty that claims to blend the best of both modern and traditional medicine. To get here, naturopaths aggressively and relentlessly lobby for laws to allow them to be licensed as medical practitioners. Almost half of the U.S. states license or regulate naturopaths, and 5 Canadian provinces regulate naturopathy. Current scopes vary wildly. In Arizona, an ND is considered a physician and can prescribe controlled substances and perform minor surgeries. ND students are not trained in the same standards of care as medical students. it was common to hear instructors clinically discuss a patient's vital force, whatever that is, as if this could somehow be detected and improved. Acupuncturists, they don't use the term vital force. They use the term qi that flows along meridians, supposed meridians on the body. And sometimes this qi gets blocked, whatever that means. And the sticking of needles at certain points unblock or harmonize or whatever terms they use, but it's all BS. A residency is not required for naturopaths to practice any specialty of medicine, including oncology. After a naturopathic student graduates, he or she may move directly into practice after passing a 2-part licensing exam that primarily focuses on naturopathic therapies such as homeopathy. I've talked about homeopathy in the past on this show. It's essentially water. And whatever the companies that make these naturopathic medicines, whatever they put into it, they dilute it to the point where there's essentially no active ingredient left. So anyway, if you insist on buying homeopathic remedies, at least you're hydrating yourself. You're getting more water in your system. Naturopathic therapies such as homeopathy and herbs. A small number of naturopathic doctors voluntarily complete residencies, which are essentially encores of naturopathic clinical training. Okay, then this article goes into the lawsuit brought by Colleen Huber. And Huber's Naturopathic Cancer Society is a nonprofit organization that previously claimed to help naturopathic patients raise money for alternative cancer therapies. Okay, this after Britt Marie Hermes called her out on this, Colleen Huber sued her. She hired her own German lawyer in September of 2017. And she won. No, Britt Marie Hermes won the lawsuit. And then, of course, it was appealed. And then that's where this stands right now. On May 24th, 2019, the District Court of Kiel, Germany, ruled against Huber. Reading through the judgment, I, Britt Marie Hermes, really felt like the judge understood me and the point of my blog. Britt Marie Hermes has a blog. I urge all of you to look her up online and read her blog. And this is the court's ruling in Germany. The effectiveness of naturopathic treatment is a highly controversial issue among experts. This is exactly what is intended by the defendant's article. It is a concern for information in the connection with an issue that is discussed controversially and emotionally in the public. Okay, and the court decision goes on, and the judge determined my, Britt Marie Hermes, statements were protected speech under Article 5, subsection 1 of the German Constitution. The deadline has now passed for Huber to appeal, which means Huber cannot sue me again for these points in Germany, nor can she appeal at a later date. I thought it was still being appealed, but I was wrong. Okay, Britt Marie Hermes. Now, this is the magazine. skeptical inquirer, I would urge all of my listeners out there to subscribe to this. They can use all of the income that they can get. They're fighting these battles on your behalf. They're investigating not just alternative and complementary medicines, but ridiculous claims like grief vampires, these psychics that claim to speak to the other side and talk to your deceased relatives, chemtrails, flat earth, ghosts, etc., etc. I've gone over all these things before with you on previous shows, but if you want to keep up on what's going on in the world of skepticism, please subscribe to this magazine. Okay. The myth of the sugar high. Okay. This is a question and answer, and I forget where I got this, but the question to a medical person was, is there a medical basis for the sugar high, quote unquote, that some parents claim their children get after eating sugar? I have heard this, and I'm sure that all you who are parents out there have heard this myth. The answer to this, the theory of the sugar high has been debunked, yet the myth persists. The notion that sugar might make children behave badly first appeared in the medical literature in 1922, but the idea did not capture the public's imagination until Dr. Ben Feingold's, Feingold, best-selling book, Why Your Child is Hyperactive, and this was published in 1975. Finally, actual scientific inquiry into this theory debunked it. In his book, Dr. Feingold describes the case of a boy, one case, who might well be patient zero for the putative connection between sugar and hyperactivity. The mother's fair-haired, wiry son loved soft drinks, candy, and cake, not exactly abnormal for any healthy child. He also seemed to go completely wild after birthday parties and during family gatherings around holidays. Okay, I'm not going to read this entire article, but the theory of the sugar high has been thoroughly debunked. Now, one of the things that I do, and I have done this for about 30 years, I am a private tutor in the afternoons. When I was working at my other professions, which was beer and beverage sales and marketing and retail for a local chain around here, Safeway. I kind of had two jobs that kind of overlapped, and then I transitioned into just Safeway after, it's a long story, I don't want to go into that, but the beer thing kind of went bye-bye. I helped my wife, Patty, who started helping the neighborhood kids when we moved up to Petaluma here with their reading and arithmetic, and then one thing led to another, and suddenly we were the go-to private tutors here in Petaluma. And so I have a lot of experience with grammar school kids, middle school kids, and high school kids. And the vast majority of them were guys. And I don't know how much uh, candy and sweets they ate. Not much in my presence, but I can tell you that just being a guy uh, gets you to be a bit hyperactive. And I would never try to tamp down that quality of young guys. It's just, that's the way guys are. And there is more of a variation between guys than there is between guys and girls, for instance. There have been some young girls that I've tutored that, wow, they are full of energy and hard to settle down and hard to concentrate. And I would not claim that they were hyperactive because of candy or whatever it is they ate, soft drinks. So it just varies with the individual. And boys are not necessarily more hyperactive than girls. In fact, I think that hyperactivity and ADHD as a medical diagnosis is way overprescribed for, I think Ritalin is one of the drugs that is prescribed to cut down on this. I think, in my professional opinion as a private tutor, that parents should just learn to deal with it. And there was one little kid that I had. He was a third grader, needed help with his math, times tables and learning how to do long division, et cetera, et cetera. And I would be sitting with him and helping him with his current homework assignment and explaining how long division works. And then he would tell me, I need to run. Okay, go for it. And then he would run around the house 3 or 4 times, and then breathing rapidly and deeply, he would come and sit down, and we would resume the lesson. That's just the way he was. So I accommodated him. Okay, enough with the sugar high. It's, there's other reasons for not eating a lot of sugar or soft drinks or so on and so on, but that's not one of the reasons. Okay, just for general health reasons, don't eat a lot of sugar. Okay, the state of California has just okayed a blueprint to protect the ocean and the coast. A coast, well, we have a lot of it out here in California. And it was approved Wednesday, which was February 26th. The strategic plan adopted unanimously by the state's Ocean Protection Council. Until I read this article, I didn't know we had one of those things here in California. But anyway, it's a blueprint for how state agencies should collaborate over the next 5 years with tribal groups, research organizations, and underserved communities to prepare for ocean warming, acidification, rising seas, and above all, plastic pollution. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about trash and the circular economy in a little bit, but when I decided to do a segment on trash-free economy, that same day I happened to run across this article in our local newspaper. We are really at a crisis point globally, said Jared Blumenfeld, the state secretary for environmental protection and one of 6 members of the Ocean Protection Council. Okay. this is a whole long article. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to summarize the goals of them. Establish statewide water quality objectives for ocean acidification and hypoxia, or lack of oxygen, by 2025. Ocean hypoxia is that creates dead zones where marine life need a certain amount of oxygen in the water to live. Okay, they want to develop and begin implementation of a statewide kelp forest research and restoration plan by the end of 2020. Well, that's this year. We are losing our kelp forests, and that is a very, very bad thing. Develop a statewide whale and sea turtle protection plan with a target of 0 mortality by 2022. And the crab fishermen are going to have to cooperate in this endeavor. Okay, modernize and improve the harmful algal bloom notification network by 2022. And by 2024, be able to predict when and where toxic blooms might occur. There are certain algae in the ocean off our coasts here in California that are toxic to marine life. Another thing they want to do is work to achieve 0 trash entering state waters by 2030. Good luck with that. And develop a statewide microplastics strategy. Well, in order to do that, we're going to have to really cut down on microplastic beads that are put into cosmetics, for instance. Okay. Now, in that same vein, a lawsuit was filed, and I try to keep my listeners and watchers up to date on all these lawsuits. It was filed Wednesday, February 26th. The lawsuit filed in San Mateo Superior Court by the Berkeley-based Earth Island Institute. Please look these people up or Google it and find out who they are. You don't hear very much about them, but they filed a lawsuit, and the complaint accuses Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Nestle, Clorox, Danone, Colgate-Palmolive, Procter & Gamble, Mars, the candy company, Crystal Geyser, and Mondelez, capital M-O-N-D-E-L-E-Z. I've not heard of that company before. I don't know what they make. They accuse them all of negligence, creating a public nuisance, breaching their warranties, and failing to warn consumers about the dangers of plastics. Earth Island Institute, which is seeking unspecified damages, wants the court to order the companies to reduce plastic production, pay for cleanup, and stop implying their plastic containers will be recycled until there are resources available to do the job. Okay, now these companies that are being sued by the Earth Island Institute, I am of mixed feelings about this. Yes, plastic is horrible for the environment. Some of the blame falls on us for not recycling soft drink bottles and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, I think that these companies that are listed in the lawsuits, and others as well, should be assessed a certain amount of money so that we, in the United States, can recycle plastic in general, not just plastic drink bottles. China no longer accepts our bales of compressed plastic for recycling. Now, the coronavirus thing, and that's a whole new issue, but about a year and a half, 2 years ago, China announced that they will no longer take our bales of plastic. The reason they gave was that they were just too dirty and it was too expensive to recycle them. Why, oh, why don't we build some of these plastic recycling facilities here in the United States? And one of the things that we could do is assess all these companies a certain amount of money, assuming that Earth Island Institute wins the lawsuit. And like one could be built here on the West Coast, maybe in Oakland or Richmond or Sacramento or someplace. One on the Gulf Coast near, I don't know, Mobile, Alabama, maybe. And one on the East Coast near, I don't know, in the state of Maryland somewhere. And those three centers can be plastic recycling facilities. Now, surely it would be cheaper to ship our plastic bales a couple hundred miles to one of these recycling centers rather than hiring a container ship to sail from San Francisco over to China, which can no longer be done anyway. So I'm not really sure where our plastic bales are now. I take, my aluminum cans and my glass bottles and my plastic bottles. I have 3 separate little boxes here in the garage. And I take them to our local recycling place, and they take them. They pay a little bit of money for them. But I'm not sure, since we can't ship these to China anymore, where they are or where they end up, or is there some place where they're being stored? I will have to look into this. Okay, so there's plastics. Okay, this article is a continuation of that one. Over 90% of the plastic is not being recycled. There is simply no way we can manage all the plastic that is out there. This is a picture of a plastic bale. A bin is jammed with sorted plastic at the Berkeley Recycling Center. A small fraction of the plastic in consumer products is recycled, and vast amounts end up in the world's waterways. That's what our coastal commission people are, that's one of the things they're trying to address. Okay, now, the latest issue of the National Geographic, that's a magazine that I subscribe to. The latest edition is entitled, interestingly, The End of Trash, which is something we can all dream about. Now, one of the things that they advocate for is the circular economy, meaning that you mine iron, aluminum, copper, or cut down trees to make lumber, and you fashion these items into consumer products. Okay. The consumers buy these things and use them for a certain amount of time, a few years, and then they are discarded. That's a linear economy. What you want to do is get a raw material, fashion it into a consumer product. When the lifetime of this product is over, send it to a recycling outfit where the raw materials are extracted from it and make new products out of it. Excuse me. Okay. There's a chart in the National Geographic of the circular economy, and I'm going to hold this up, even though you probably won't be able to make sense of it. There it is. Okay. And it's the snapshot of the world's economy. Now, over on the left of this chart, extracted resources. And then construction or manufacturing goes on, and certain resources are made to last for a long, long time, like a house, for instance. Durable goods, when you hear that term used by economists, what they mean are large appliances, refrigerators, stoves, washers, dryers, etc., hot water heaters. Those are durable goods that are intended to last for 35, 40 years. And when they are, when they completely break down, then you go out and you buy another stove, for instance. The appliance dealer sends a truck out with their delivery guys. They wheel it into your house. They take the old one out and then hopefully break it down into its component parts and its raw materials, and then they are fashioned into another consumer product. Metals, you mine this stuff, iron, copper, etc., etc. Here's a picture of an airplane graveyard. It's out in the deserts of Arizona, and they are pirated for spare parts and reused. Okay, energy. Okay, in this country, we've just got to get off of coal, and we're in the process of doing that. I've said before that I kind of feel sorry for the coal miners whose entire lives have been centered around coal mining, and they're probably third or fourth generation coal miners. They need to be taken care of. All of the coal mines in this country should be just shut down completely. But the coal miners should be taken care of. Certainly they should have health care for the rest of their lives because of black lung disease that almost all of them suffer from. And they should have free retraining for new occupations. They have a picture in here of geothermal energy, and they use Iceland, the country of Iceland, as a ideal place. They get all their energy from geothermal sources. In fact, homes are heated by piped in warm water. Now, it would be impractical for us in this country to do that. However, we do have a geothermal energy producing company like 30 miles from here. You go up to Santa Rosa, which is about 15 miles north of Petaluma, and then about another 10 or 15 miles north of that is a place called the Geysers. We have geysers shooting out on a regular basis, just like Yellowstone National Park and Old Faithful. Ours are not as famous or as large or whatever, but there is a company that has hooked up generators to some of these outpourings of steam from, I guess there's magma that is within the earth, but not that far down, and which kind of makes me wonder about, geez, are we going to have a volcanic eruption very close by where we are here? Well, maybe so, but it's not impossible to have geothermal energy sources here in this country. You just have to have them in the right spot, and fortunately, we have one here in Sonoma County. And okay, food. There's a whole section in this National Geographic article about non-food waste. In okay, where is this place? In Newark, New Jersey, there's a high-rise farm, believe it or not. And I'll hold this up. What they grow are vegetables in trays. Mostly it's greens and herbs, but they use this old abandoned factory and stack up their trays of greens and whatnot. Okay, I've just been signaled that I'm going to have to kind of wrap things up here. This is going to be the last show for a while. Now, what that means is, by the word while, I don't know exactly. Probably a month to a month and a half, because I'm just going to have cataract surgery so I can see my notes better. So, play out music. Okay, I will let my thousands and thousands of listeners out there know when the next Midnight Skeptic show is going to be broadcast. I have on my Facebook page, it's under Dave Murphy. That's my real name. But if you ever go to Facebook and look on my timeline, there are notices about the Midnight Skeptic, plus some other things of a political nature that I find, and I post on my timeline, usually about the that orange creep that's currently our president. Oh, geez. Please vote tomorrow, 3rd of March. Please vote for whatever Democrat is left in the race. Amy Klobuchar just dropped out, but so that leaves Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. But I'm personally leaning toward, for what it's worth, Bernie Sanders. But whatever Democratic candidate emerges from all this, I will certainly vote for him. We have just got to get rid of the orange menace. That'll do it. Goodbye until further notice.